Our Smart and Connected Community project is funded by the National Science Foundation, and we are exploring a community-engaged approach to address toxic contaminants in water, such as lead, arsenic, and copper, using cloud-connected electrochemical sensors. So the overall goal of our project is to deploy citizen science-operated sensors that can rapidly test water on site and try to find out if there is any severe threat, and if so, how extent is the contamination. The data is then sent to public health authorities and municipalities to take appropriate actions. Lead is a contaminant which we very well remember from the Flint water crisis, and more recently in 2023, December, there was a state of emergency declared in the US Virgin Islands due to high lead concentrations in drinking water. So it's still a prevalent threat in the United States, with more than 9 million lead pipes to be replaced. And we believe that our project will help replace these lead pipelines within the next 10 years. So the electrochemical tongue, or the electronic tongue that we call it, is a user-friendly handheld device that can detect toxins in water in a matter of minutes. So unlike traditional methods that require water sampling and sending samples to an off-site lab for testing, our e-tongue can provide immediate results. And it uses patented screen-printed electrodes that can achieve the selectivity and sensitivity specified by the US Environmental Protection Agency and the World Health Organization. With the help of our community partners, the Merrimack River Watershed Council and YWCA, we conduct several workshops to increase public awareness on water quality issues. We also conduct several training workshops and involve citizens on hands-on water sampling and testing activities.
Basically, it's talking to the community at different events that we're at, people who come through the youth center, so that we can get people interested in it. Yesterday, before I left work, somebody came and dropped off their sample. So we are a pickup and drop-off site. Even if somebody doesn't come and attend a workshop with us, they are welcome to come in, pick up an empty kit, take it home, gather the sample and drop it back off to us.
So we try and make participating in the project as easy as possible. Anybody who wants to collect a sample can pick up a sampling kit from a number of locations we have, both here at UMass Lowell and also with our community partners. In the sampling kits, it's contain all the instructions they need, as well as just some labels and paperwork and the bottles. And all they have to do is take the kit home. We ask that they let their water sit for at least 6 hours. That way you're getting the relatively higher concentration of lead and copper.
If we detect lead or copper above the EPA specified limits, we would first send the samples to an off-site lab for confirmatory analysis, and then we would send you the results.
As an engineer, I think it's a positive that people will test if they have any concerns. Though also we do acknowledge that water testing can be rather expensive. That is one of the motivations for this project. There are many commercial labs, they'll test a whole host of different contaminants and parameters in your water, but that can be quite costly, from $50 all the way up to $100 or $200 depending on what you're testing for. This project's funded by the National Science Foundation, so that covers all the costs for testing. So it's free to anybody who wants to participate, as long as you're in one of the towns, Andover, Lowell, Lawrence, or Dracut, that we're currently working in. We have community workshops with our partners, YWCA Lowell and Merrimack River Watershed Council.
In the workshops, typically there is a slideshow that goes along with the verbal education, and so they walk through kind of what kinds of contaminants can be in your water and what the process is for your water to get to your home from, say, like the city street, and what it goes through before it comes out of the faucet, so that people can understand kind of that process and where things come from. They also walk through the steps on how to gather the water sampling from their home with the kit, so that they have an understanding of, when they take their empty kit home, how to process that and gather the water.
Heavy metals present a range of different health problems. Lead is probably the one with the greatest concern. And since it's a neurotoxin, which is particularly dangerous for children, and children can cause problems including cognitive delays, behavioral problems, and even in extreme cases, irreversible neurological damage. There's also issues for adults who can experience things like cardiovascular problems and reproductive issues. The other contaminants, as I mentioned, like arsenic, is also a significant concern, as it can lead to cancer, skin lesions, and also heart problems. And then finally, copper is less of a concern, but it can still cause problems, mainly discoloration of your water and, in extreme cases, gastrointestinal problems and kidney and liver problems.
Lead is something you can't see, so and often you can't taste it either. So wondering, what does live in the water, and is it in there? And I think that listening to some of our community members, like they were also concerned about that. Like when you bring it up to them, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think about that." It's not something you think about on a day-to-day basis. So when it is explained to them, it's brought to the forefront, and then, having to, help them understand that.
We wanted to find out, what is our community safe? Is the drinking water in our community safe? And that's why we chose 4 cities and towns close to UMass Lowell, Lawrence, Dracut, and Andover. We also wanted to find out how socioeconomically diverse communities are affected by drinking water or unsafe drinking water. So that's the reason why we chose these 4 communities. So far, what we have found is that there is no big threat in our communities. Our communities are relatively safe. We do not have any widespread contamination or severe contamination like we saw in Flint, Michigan.
The levels are below the regulatory limits, and even in most cases is not detectable using either the tongue or the standard lab methods we're using. So we are noticing slightly higher concentrations in some areas with older homes, particularly homes built before 1986. In 1986, Congress passed the Cleanwater Drinking Act, which banned new plumbing from using lead pipes and fixtures. So it's also part of what we do on this project. We're also going through historical data.
We have tested 336 homes so far. Only 7 homes returned lead values above 15 parts per billion, and there was only 1 home that had copper above the limit of 1.3 parts per million. And these contamination we believe are coming from inside the house and not from the lead service lines. So they leach out from pipes and fixtures inside the home.
I heard a lot from people that they were concerned or worried that if lead was found in their pipes or in their water, that would cause a potential problem for them if they were, say living in as a tenant, with their landlord, or if they were in subsidized housing, if that was going to become an issue for them and they were going to need to find another place to live. So just to reassure people that the results of the water testing get sent directly to them and not to a landlord. The only time the city, if you will, would come into play is if the lead was found in the city pipes, then it would be a city issue and not, with them as a homeowner or a tenant in a house. And then the other piece I think that is important to share with people is that if they're interested in having, coming to the workshop or even just taking a kit home, all of the literature is provided to them in English and Spanish. And our workshops are always given in both languages as well, so that they can come to a workshop and know that it'll be translated from English to Spanish for them, so that they can have a good understanding of what's presented.
So the responsibility of removing lead actually depends on where the lead is found. If it's coming from the lead service lines, and it's the responsibility of the municipality or the public water utility to replace the lead service lines. But if the portion of the lead service line falls inside the property line, it is a homeowner's responsibility. So the responsibility of replacing the lead service lines sometimes involves collaboration between the homeowner and the municipalities or water utilities. However, having said that, if the contamination is due to lead fixtures or plumbing inside the house, it is a responsibility of the homeowner.
Drain your water before you use it. It helps to flush out any lead or copper that might have built up in the pipes. Additionally, the water air filters are effective at removing in lead and in copper. Also, people can use cold water instead of hot water. This will eliminate some of the metals that can accumulate in the water heater. It's also worth noting that for a lot of drinking water contamination, people recommend that you boil your water. This doesn't actually work with lead and copper and other metals. It actually just concentrates them. So it's worth noting, don't boil your water if you're worried about lead.
When does lead come into our drinking water is unpredictable. And that has been taught to us by the Flint water crisis. When they switched the water supply from Lake Huron to the Flint River, and they did not apply certain mitigation methods such as corrosion control, the lead leached out in their drinking water. So we should be testing water more frequently. So we should not just take a back seat. That is why we want to make sure a community engaged approach is needed, where citizens should be empowered to test their drinking water and advocate for safe drinking water practices. Where citizens are involved, community partners are involved, the municipalities, the Mass DEP, everyone work together as a team to ensure that the drinking water is safe and our environment is safe.
The project website is www.uml.edu/research/cleanwater, or just search UML and Cleanwater. We should be the first webpage that comes up. And then to reach out to us, we have an email, is cleanwater@uml.edu.